Welcome back, everyone, to the Moms Like Me podcast. Today is such a treat for me. I am always looking for inspiring moms to chat with who have unique stories and perspectives that I think are valuable for other moms to hear. And so many times I look around saying, who can I talk to? Who can I reach out to? And sometimes they're just right in front of you every day. So Ashley Hughey is our new head of growth here at Support Now. And among many other things that I'm impressed with her by professionally, she also has a personal story that is very kind of Support Now-esque in the sense that she has been through a major life moment, which really gives her such authority to both guide this company and really guide like the ethos of who we're trying to serve and how we serve them. So Ashley Hughey, thank you so much for joining me today. Throughout the interview process, I knew you had this personal story, but I myself have not dug in to learn all of it. So this is a very authentic conversation we're going to have today of what actually happened. But thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So first of all, Ashley, why don't you tell people a little bit more about you? You're a mom, so just give people a little bit of background on who you are, just so there's a little bit more context.
Absolutely. Yes. I was born and raised ish in Alabama, grew up in Huntsville. I lived in Atlanta after going to school at Auburn for 11 years. Met my husband Nolan along that ride. We lived in Atlanta together for about 8 years. He was a high school football coach and I was pursuing my marketing career in Atlanta. We have two little boys, Jennings and Jones. Often people ask if we named them after Waylon and George, but we did not. So I am a boy mom and we actually live in Auburn, Alabama again now. So a little bit of like a full circle moment. We ended up moving back here in summer of 2022 when I was pregnant with my second. And Nolan was coaching in the area, and COVID allowed us to sort of make a choice about where we wanted to be. And so we ended up in Auburn thinking it would be a couple-year pit stop, and now we have laid roots here and love it. But yes, boy mom of two, a boy dog. I'm surrounded by boys. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's so
Right.
much fun. Lots of
And I
sport.
won't hold the Auburn thing against you, I promise, for
Yes.
all my Georgia fans listening. Ashley is still she's still in the cool kids club. So, basically, and not to try to minimize what you said, but pretty standard. Like nothing dramatic, traumatic happened early childhood, early adulthood. Everything's humming along as it could. I'm sure just a lot of ups and downs as we all oftentimes encounter in our adult life, but nothing traumatic until an accident with your husband. So I would love for you to share what happened with Nolan and provide a little bit more detail there.
Yes. So in June of 2024, we were headed down to 30A on a Friday morning. It was perfectly normal morning. I had packed the car the night before, gotten everybody ready to go, sent the dog off to doggy daycare. The kids were in school, and I work from home. I was taking a few meetings in the morning, and Nolan had a couple of pit stops to make. He's in a sales job now. So he had a couple of calls to make in the morning, and then we were going to head to the beach around lunchtime. Around 10 a.m., I was on a work call, which I was in a role where I was having like 13, 14 meetings a day. I'm constantly on the phone. Usually when my personal phone rings, I don't answer it, like especially if it's a number I don't recognize. I looked down at my phone and I saw a Columbus, Georgia number. And for whatever reason, I answered. I hung up the call I was on, the Teams call that I was on, and I answered the phone, which was already in itself out of character. And there was a police officer on the other end, and he asked if this was Ashley Hughey. I said it was. He said, "Your husband's been in an accident. We just found him on Auburn's campus." Nolan had a one-wheel sort of like electronic skateboard that he rode for exercise. He used to run our dog on it. He would ride it around campus. Obviously we live on a college campus area, so he would ride it a lot down there. So he had finished a little bit early with his sales calls and decided, I'm going to get some exercise before we're in the car all afternoon with the kids. Opened up his trunk, got his one wheel out, realized he had left his helmet at home. And he had ridden this thing in our neighborhood. I mean, so many times he'd had like 2,000 miles on it and never really gotten in an accident. So he decided to start riding and hit, we think, a storm drain on campus and hit his head on a curb, probably going 25-ish miles an hour. Luckily, he was at it was summertime, which is very quiet in Auburn. He's very lucky that someone found him. A couple people actually found him, ran up on him, called 911. I think there were 4 911 calls. So coming back, the police officer said he's been in an accident. He fell. He's hit his head really bad. He's unconscious right now. We're trying to get him into an ambulance. I was like, "Is he okay?" And he said, "I don't know." So, like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, I was just on a Teams call and now, like, someone's calling me and telling me my husband is dead. Like, so I was like, "Okay, what do I do?" And that's when, the trauma, which to your point, I never really experienced, like, a traumatic situation like that in my life. And it was just, like, that blur, like, the overwhelming sense of, like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" And he said, "There's no neuro unit in Auburn. We have to take him to Columbus," which is, like, 45 minutes away. Luckily, I didn't have kids at home, the dog was gone, we were about to go on vacation, so I was in a great spot. The car was packed with clothes, so
Where were
that
the
was
boys?
they were in daycare.
They were in daycare, okay.
Yeah. So I jumped in the car and just started driving,
Mm.
and I first call was my mother-in-law, second call was my mom. I don't even really remember much of the drive to the hospital, and I didn't know what condition he was in. Like, for all I know, he was
Yeah.
gone. So for 45 minutes to an hour, I was in the car, complete unknown.
By yourself? No one went with you?
No one was with me. My in-laws live in Birmingham. My parents are 3.5 hours away, so they, both got in the car, pointed it toward Auburn, but I was by myself. I arrived at the hospital. They couldn't let me in the trauma room that he was in because there was a terrible motorcycle accident that had also happened, and he was in a shared room with that person. They weren't letting anyone in. So I think it was probably 30 minutes. It felt like hours. I couldn't see him. I was just, like, pacing the lobby of the hospital. So
Mm.
all that to say, I finally got in, to the trauma unit. He was conscious-ish, kinda in and out, and come to find out he had a temporal skull fracture. So he fractured his skull from his left temple all the way to the back of his head, like a
Yeah.
linear skull fracture. He ended up having a subdural hematoma, so he had bleeding of the brain, and it was pretty touch and go at the time. My in-laws arrived and helped me, which one of the other things I learned about my trauma response was it was very bizarre in the sense of I'm usually very type A, organized, like, way of thinking and living. I just turned into this, like, all I could do was, like, crack weird jokes, and, like, I wasn't, like, managing the situation in the way that I would have expected myself to manage the situation. So thank goodness my in-laws were there within 2 hours because I was, like, unable to even give him the care as a spouse that I would have expected of myself. Like, it was a very bizarre situation, and I look back and go, "Oh my gosh," like,
Yeah.
if he hadn't made it, I never would have forgiven myself for the way that I was behaving in the hospital. Like, "Snap to it, Ashley," like,
No, but it's, like, almost like a defense mechanism, like, you felt like you were trying to like, push it away?
I have been told since and people that I've talked to that, like, it's just a fight or flight response sometimes that you just respond that way in the moment because your body is, like, in just weird attack mode.
Ashley, do you remember what you were telling yourself? I mean, the 45-minute drive from Auburn to Columbus sounds miserable, but the waiting in the hospital before you can actually see him sounds more miserable to me. Do you remember, like, what were the things you were telling yourself? Or is that all just a blur?
A lot of it's a blur, but I do remember, like, praying out loud a lot, and that's all I could really do because I didn't ha I didn't know anything, just, "Please let him be okay," and I do remember thinking at one point, like, saying out loud, like, "What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" Like, thinking he was gone. Like, I it was almost like I had started to go there in my mind because no one was giving me any answers, so I just sorta went to, like, the worst case scenario.
And
Yeah, and when I got to him, when he was in and out of consciousness, he was obviously had severe concussion, like, was very confused, very defensive. It was like this person that I knew and loved was not in there. Like, he was just being very different. He was angry, he was confused, he didn't know why he was there, he was trying to get out of the bed when he did come to. They told us that we were in the trauma room for almost a full 24 hours, and that was traumatic in itself.
yeah.
But they told us that they were evaluating whether he would go to ICU, or not. He would likely go to ICU. They were evaluating if they were gonna have to do emergency surgery or not because of the brain bleed. Fast forward a little bit, truly miraculously, the brain bleed dissolved within 2 days. He did not have to have surgery. He somehow got in a normal room after a couple days and was only in the hospital for 4 days. Like, it
Wow.
was a true miracle, and so we were in the hospital for 4 days. I anticipated it being much, much longer, but they finally said, he can go recover at home. It's gonna be a long road, but he can go home and start the process of recovery. So that was a blessing. We got to come home. We didn't have an extended hospital stay.
And what did recovery what did that mean?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of medication for he was on a lot of medication for 2-ish months, I would say, just to try to prevent, seizures and manage pain, and so he was on a lot of medications, and he wasn't really himself for several weeks to a couple months at all.
Mm.
So that was hard because you start to think like, is this how he's gonna be
Is
now?
this permanent? Is this the new version of him? Right.
Yeah, 100%. It was really, really scary, and, the kids are when we got home, the kids are my youngest was too young, but the at the time 3-year-old was asking a lot of questions, and he's 3, it's like, "Is
Of
daddy
course.
okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy," like, you snap into, like, this one person that's taking care of him and wondering what the real outcome is gonna be, and then this other person who is mom who is like, "Everybody's safe, everything's fine," like, it's
So how did you choose to talk to him?
I kept it very light. I think because by the time we got home, his prognosis was good. Like, he's likely probably gonna have some facial paralysis. Like, there are things to come, but in terms of him living or dying, it's looking very likely that he's gonna be okay. So I had that
Mm.
line of like, "He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be okay." And I kinda just kept it at that because I didn't wanna scare him. I mean, he was 3 about to turn 4, and my youngest was 18 months. So they were really, really little. So I kept it really light. That's all I
I'm
could think of.
curious, Ashley. I'm always curious to see how people process these things. Was this like a heavily emotional? I mean, it was emotional, certainly, but did you find yourself crying a lot or and like having a really hard time just functioning? Or did you go into over functioning mode? How did you actually adjust to him being home?
That's a good question. In full transparency, I spent a little bit of time being angry at him because I was like, "Why did you not put a helmet on? Like, you should know." Like, I went through that response for a while, and I feel like it's important to be honest about it. Like, I was mad. I was like, "Why did you do this?" Like, to the kids, to me, to our both of our families, like, scared us to death. Obviously didn't mean to, but such an easily preventable thing was hard for me to wrap my head around because I am the most risk-averse person on the planet. Nolan, like, bungee jumped off of a bridge in Africa. Like,
Right.
he's built different, and I love that about him, but at the same time, I was like, "We have kids, like, you can't do this." So I spent a little bit of time, like, wrestling with that anger of, like, I'm so grateful that he's gonna be okay, but I'm also so upset with him that, like, this could permanently damage him, and he could have died.
Yeah, and just changed everything, like the trajectory of your family life and the life that you were planning. I mean, I actually really appreciate that transparency because I do think that sometimes people forget that it's okay to be angry.
Yeah, and I was definitely sad a lot of the time too, like, the tears and especially
Yeah,
related to the kids, like, the kids seeing him that way and having to, like, be super strong in that moment when you get by yourself and it's all over at the end of the day and you have that, you know, breath and release, like, yes, I spent a lot of those moments with myself too, so
of course.
it was hard, and I have a hard time, like, letting out those emotions in front of anyone else. I've always had a hard time with that, like, I don't like other people to bear the burden of my emotional state. I just
Yeah.
never have.
Was the skateboard ever a point of contention prior to this?
Yes, a little bit. I never liked it, mainly just because it was dangerous and I'm risk averse. Like, I'm like, "Why would you have this?" I loved, like, parts of it, like, yeah, it's great for exercise, and the dog loves to run with it, but he had a couple of, like, not bad falls, but a couple, like, little falls where he'd, like, bruise up a little bit, and I had asked him to get rid of it. It definitely was, like, a thing in our house that I already didn't love, which probably didn't help the anger when it was like see.
Right. Well, that's why I asked. It's like, was this something previously discussed where it wasn't the first time where it had crossed your mind that something like this could happen? It
It
wasn't
happened.
like right, right.
Yes, 100%.
So he's recovering at home. How many weeks is he recovering for? Were you working? Like, how did you actually manage the day-to-day realities? Because again, I think sometimes when stories or when experiences like this unfold, it's really easy to kind of look at it like broadly speaking, but when you actually drill down to the day-to-day of having a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old and you work full time, like how did you actually do it?
Yeah, it was hard. I took, probably at least a week, if not 2 weeks off. Everybody at work was, super understanding, and I think the hardest part about getting back to work, like, different than even coming back from, like, maternity leave was this this job feels so insignificant to me right now, like, in comparison to taking care of him. Like,
Mm.
listening to people on Teams calls versus, like, I need to be taking care of the problems in my mind became very different. Similarly to how when you become a mom, like, your perspective just shifts in that way. So I was trying to work a couple weeks in with a very shifted perspective. Thank goodness for family being close. My parents and Nolan's parents were instrumental in survival for me. They were just here. And my parents stayed. I can't remember how long my parents stayed, a while. And they kept coming back and forth. Nolan's parents stayed for many days and also came back and forth. So I had a lot of support in that way too, just with family proximity, which was super helpful.
Just people just stepping up and like helping with the day-to-day logistics so that you could still have the space you needed to get some work done and to provide because you were and are providing for your family and
Yeah.
that's a very real part of managing.
Yeah. And probably in some ways too, it was a good distraction at points to have work, like
Yeah.
here and there. It was kind of nice to just like go to that place and be in that place instead of constantly worrying.
And when did you see the shift in him where you realize, like, he would make a full recovery, that maybe some of that anger or that uncertainty that you had at the beginning, when was that pivot? And how gradual was it?
Yeah, I think it was gradual. I would say probably 3 weeks in ish. Time is so weird during that period of time. Like, I'm like, I was it three
Yeah, it's
weeks?
hard to
Was it three
remember.
months? I don't remember. I think I was like, okay, he's gonna be okay. We had gone to I think it was about that point in time. We had been to a couple of just doctor's appointments, like people that they wanted us to go hear from. He couldn't hear out of his left ear at all.
Mm.
He was wearing earbuds when he fell, and one of them, like, kinda went through his ear, and so he had lost all of the hearing in his left ear, and he couldn't smell anything, so just, like, some nerve damage stuff, so we had gone to an ENT appointment here in Auburn, and that was the first time where, like, I knew he was lucky to be alive, but I think it was the first time that he realized he was lucky to be alive because the ENT was flipping through his all the paperwork from the hospital, and he was like, "I'm just gonna tell you, man, like, I have only seen this skull fracture a few times, and the few times I've seen it has been 100% in autopsies. I've never seen a living person with this kind of skull fracture that you had. Like, you should not be walking this earth. Let alone you should have your face should be completely paralyzed, like, you should have tons of nerve damage." And I think that was the first time that both of us were like, "Whoa." Like, I knew you were lucky to be alive, but hearing it from somebody in that framed up that way, I think Nolan was like I think he had been so out of it that I don't think he even realized how bad it was until that moment. That was, like, a very pivotal moment for us of, "Wow, this is, like, a truly a miracle that you're okay."
Well, and again, you're in such literal survival mode, both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, emotional trauma, like, survival mode, physical that it's hard to I would imagine it's hard to understand the depth of what happens because you don't have time to process it. It's like your body pushes that away because it would be too much to handle both at the same time.
Yep.
It's an incredible story. It also goes to show you miracles happen. They don't always happen, but they can, and I think that's a really important story to tell because it's easy to get lost in all the horrible things that happen and don't end up well.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference that you've seen in Nolan since this accident?
Oh, that's such a good question. He has a very different outlook, as he should. on life. And I feel like there's been a really positive shift in him in that way of, like, his faith has gotten a lot stronger. It already was. He's like the faith anchor of our family and has always been.
Mhm.
But I mean, kids come along, life gets crazy. You know, veer here and there in and out of that. And I think it took him back to that in a way that I hadn't seen since we've been married. So and that sort of that rising tide floats all boats in our home. Like when he is grounded in that way, it is really good for everybody. So, like, that shift in him has been huge. I feel like he just has a more grateful heart, like, since it happened, and while I know it's been frustrating for him at points in time of, like, not being able to hear and not being able to smell, it's like, well, yeah, it pales in comparison of, like, I get to be here with my wife and my kids, like, so it's been a big perspective shift for him, as you would expect it to be.
What about for you? What's the biggest shift that you've sensed in yourself since then?
Oh. I mean, I think, it kinda sounds cheesy, but, like, tomorrow isn't promised, and that was the first traumatic situation that I have been in that was, like, that close to losing someone like that, and I think that's probably I don't know that I was living that way, and to be truth be told, I don't know that I am today as much as I wish that I was, but it definitely gives you that perspective of, like, "Oh my gosh, like, we were supposed to be sitting on the beach." Like, we thought, "We're getting in the car, and we're driving, and we're gonna be on 30A, sipping margaritas here in a few hours," and now I'm laying on the floor in a trauma unit, like, so I think it's given us a little bit more of that, like, YOLO perspective. I hate that I just said YOLO, but it has, like
No, but the fragility of life and how nothing is guaranteed. But you're right. It's hard even amongst the most grateful humans I know. And we all know them. It is easy to get lost back into that daily routine and finding I think it's very difficult for everyone to find moments throughout their day or their week to just take a moment to say, "Whew, I'm just really glad to be here."
Yeah.
And I'm sure the anniversary, or I don't wanna put words in your mouth, like, the anniversary of the accident, or, are there, like, different milestones throughout the year where you come back to that, where you're reminded again, you use the word anchor, I like that, where it kind of, like, anchors you back into that moment where it kinda forces you to slow down.
Yeah, it's been interesting in terms of, like, our communication styles about the accident, like, I'm a little bit more not nostalgic is not the right word, but I'm okay coming back to it and talking about it and, like, having that anniversary point. It makes Nolan uncomfortable, I think because he
Mhm.
carries a lot of guilt about why it happened and, like, wishes in some ways that he could erase it, so we've had to, like, work on our communication of, like, "Hey, I need to talk about it sometimes, and I need you to, like, check in with me periodically to be like, 'Do you need to talk about it?' Like, 'Do you wanna talk about it?' Because for him, he gets a little more guarded about it because I think he just carries a lot of guilt around about it.
Yeah, it's heavier for him.
'Cause he
Yeah,
thinks, "What a stupid thing that I did. Why did I do that? That was foolish." Like, all I had to do was wear a helmet. That's all I had to do, and I made a choice, and it was he always says to our kids, "You played dumb games, you win dumb prizes," and
yeah.
he
Place
he
for
played a
games,
dumb game,
win
and he
surprises. Yeah,
yes.
yes. Well, and I am curious, have you felt the need to do couples therapy? Like, have you had to work through it professionally, or is it one of these things where you found a balance and, like, a rhythm of communication inside the house that serves y'all?
I think we found an okay rhythm, but there have been points in time where I have said, like, "Do you think I should go talk to someone about this?" We're not big therapy people, like, we've done couples, therapy here and there. We probably should be. I've had lots of people tell me, like, "You should be, it's great, it can be very helpful." I've had other people say, sometimes it makes you just, like, live too hard into certain moments, and
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
it can go both ways. So, I haven't talked to anyone professionally about it, but I have thought about it many
Yeah,
times 'cause, it stays with you and for a while, and I don't feel this way anymore about it, but for a while, I was a little bit resentful about it. I was like I said, I was angry, and I'm open about that. Like, I was upset, and I was like, "I feel like I need to, like, this isn't I shouldn't be directing this at Nolan, like, as
Right.
much as I am." It's just, like, part of my response to all this, and
Right.
so in hindsight, I probably should have, but we've been able to get through it, and I think we're way stronger on the other side, so
last question for you before we begin to wrap up. How has this experience impacted the way that you show up for others?
Great question. And yeah, just in the way of support, like we'd lived in Auburn for a little over a year at the time. We knew people here just from school that had moved back and all that. And we had been to a church, like we had dipped our toe in a church we liked, but we weren't super involved. And I've never experienced people showing up the way that they did within like hours of Nolan's accident. Like people showing up with food that I'd never met. Like our next door neighbor sent lawn care services over for like 6 months.
Mm.
And just like my sister-in-laws were coordinating meals and gift cards and all the things from Birmingham, and just it was so nice because I always say this about like how I like to support people now is like just do it. Like, they may maybe they need it, maybe they don't that day, but, like, just do it and don't ask, just do. That I definitely try to show up for people in that way now, way more than I did before, and, like, those little unique things of, like, getting creative, like, what might she need? Like, her
Mhm.
husband who does a lot of the housework, yard work, probably can't do that right now, like, getting creative and getting inside that person's mind of what does support really look like to them? Because I would have never even thought like, "Oh my gosh, I can't mow the lawn," but someone thought of that for me. I wanna be the person that, like, thinks of things that they haven't even thought of yet that they need.
Yeah, and that actually solves a real pain that they have,
Yeah.
and get it and that's where I think that's one of the most in my experience, that's one of probably the most misunderstood elements of support, is you think about support at a very grand level, "Oh, they must need a lot of money. Oh, they must need a lot of food." Yes, and you have 2 young children, and you're a working mom. Like, how is she actually going to function from, call it, 6:30 AM in the morning to 7:30 at night until her kids are down? Like, what are those things in between, and on the weekends, of course, that
Yeah.
will allow her to keep moving forward?
Yeah, people dropped toys off for the kids on the front door, like,
Yeah, I
just
love that.
unannounced, like, stuff like that, like, I bet she needs something to entertain the kids. Here's a new toy that they might like, just that kinda stuff is great, and so is food. Listen, we needed it. I was not cooking, I was not
Yeah.
it that was great too. DoorDash, gift cards, all the things that so helpful, but it was like the things that stuck with me the most were those, like, extra level things
Mhm.
that people really showed up in a community that we were new to. I mean, we were new in this community. Our church reached out immediately, like, within a couple of hours. The lead pastor of our church texted, and they were rallying people to help, like, it was just amazing. It really was cool. Obviously, I wish I wasn't in that situation, but it made us realize, like, wow, we're in the right spot in
Yeah.
Auburn. Like
Yeah, and the other thing I think that, it's hard to accept help, but what I think people miss is that by accepting help, all it makes you wanna do is be eager to help someone else. Like, it really is this, like, beautiful flywheel where, yeah, it can be hard to swallow your pride and accept all this, and it's awkward because no one ever expects to be in the situation that you're in, and most moms that I interview, they say it just makes you wanna show up better the next time for somebody else, and that is what we're designed to do.
100%, and that's why I resonated with support now and why I'm so excited to be a part of it, like, really truly be a part of it because I wish I had known about it. Now I do know about it and can use it as a tool to help other people, but, like, the ability to, like, get so many different levels of support in one place is so unique and cool, and, like, I wish I had known, but, like, I'm so glad I do now and that I'm here and can, you know, tell the world about it,
We
and
are too. We couldn't be more happier to have you on the team and to use your, again, professional and personal experience to guide us towards helping more communities in this world that simply things can be made easier for them and people can, the heart behind this company, so much of it is to make people feel a little less lonely. I'd like to believe, and I there's some data to support this, that the support you receive will positively impact the outcomes that you have, at least mentally, and how you recover from something like this. And those that are able to both have community and accept their community, I believe are the ones that are quickest to recover and to not just give back, but to function and to get back to motherhood in the way that they want to, or parenthood in the way they want to. And those that choose not to, that burden, that mental load, it's very heavy and it's very dangerous. And
it
so
is. I have been someone historically who has thought that asking for help was a sign of weakness, even in early days of motherhood, and I think this experience shifted that a lot in me of, like, it's okay to, like, ask and say, "I need this, help me."
Okay. It's okay. It totally is. All right, last question here before we wrap up. I guess, typically I ask a question like, what's, any call to action? Like if there's one thing or two things that you want someone to know from hearing this conversation, what is it?
I'm gonna say a PSA to wear a helmet if you are riding anything with wheels. We have become the neighborhood and probably Auburn College campus, and all of our friends have too, like the police of the helmet police. And so I would say, gosh, it's so important. Adult or child, I have rolled down my window many times now on Auburn's campus, seeing kids on one wheels not wearing helmets, and they probably think I'm the crazy lady yelling out the window to wear a helmet, but, yeah, it's definitely shifted our perspective
Yeah.
there. It's a tough one with kids because 'cause they're always like, "Oh, I don't
Hmm.
wanna wear a helmet," but man, our situation could have had a very different outcome, and luckily, it still had a good outcome in the end, but that's my PSA.
Yeah,
Wear
it's a
a
great
helmet.
one. We'll end on that. Ashley, thank you so much. Obviously, I have the pleasure of speaking with you every day, but it always feels good to go layers deeper, to learn, to grow, to get better. And I'm just so happy that you had this ending, and I'm excited to see how you use this experience to help millions more. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Jordan, it was fun.